In today's world, 3D games are quite commonplace. In fact, you could go right now and download yourself a 3D engine for free, complete with built-in physics. This was not always the case, though. Journey back with me to the year 1998. 3D gaming was still a pretty new thing, very much in its early years. Games like Zelda Ocarina of Time and Donkey Kong 64 had yet to come out. And in October of that year, a game called Trespasser was released onto PC.
This place is dead.
It was the game that was going to transport us all into Jurassic Park. It was going to be the most realistic game of all time, a true survival experience. This game was actually supposed to come out the previous year, but due to complexities of the project and budget issues, they were unable to meet that deadline. Even releasing this game a year later, there was still much left undone. What was released was one of the more interesting examples of a game that bit off more than it could chew. It was a game with big ideas and even bigger ambitions. Even with it being a critical failure, it has left its mark on gaming. Gabe Newell has even referenced it when discussing early 3D game engines.
So we wanted to make the world part of the toolbox, part of the game experience as much as we could, which led us to the decision to do physics. So when we had made that decision, the big example in the industry was a game called Trespasser, which ended up being sort of a critical and commercial disaster.
So let's look a bit deeper into this unique experience. In Trespasser, you play as Anna, a woman who during her vacation has crashed onto the island from the Lost World, the infamous Site B.
This is Site B. This is John Hammond's Lost World.
There's no real info on what Anna looks like in the game, so I dug into the game files to see if we could pull up any clues to her appearance. Let's just move on. Anna has a lot of random dialogue throughout the game, but we don't ever really get a sense of her character through it. This is with her even being voiced by Minnie Driver, which, honestly, it's kind of surprising to see her doing this kind of role.
It is beautiful here. Must be one of the offshore islands. Cocos, one of the Cinco Muertes, maybe.
One of the more impressive elements of this game is the narration by John Parker Hammond, voiced by the same person who played him in the movie, Richard Attenborough.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928.
Oh no.
Throughout the game, we hear clips of him reading his autobiography.
We were neither the only covert business to thrive in Central America nor the most dangerous.
These clips are kind of spread out randomly, sometimes triggering at odd spots.
Curving up out to the southern basin, the Atherton Causeway would bring visiting scientists north.
But it does give interesting insight into that character and helps to kind of build up the world of Trespasser. Trespasser controls differently than any other first-person shooter of its time, and honestly differently than any other shooter of this current day and age. Let's walk through how to pick up a gun and fire it in Trespasser. First, hold down the left mouse button. Next, move your arm into roughly the correct location to pick up the gun. Now, right-click. Now, step forward a few steps because you were further away than you thought. Now right-click. Now to aim your newly grabbed gun, you hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse around, pressing space to fire. Being one-handed, this can lead to some rather odd holding techniques for some weapons. Anna's left arm was sadly one of the things left on the cutting room floor as the developers tried to piece together the game. Odd controls for sure, but this does mean that you can pick up any object and throw it around, swing it at the dinosaurs, have it glitch into the level. It was something that had never really been done before. But let's get to the real stars of Trespasser. Not Anna or her arm, let's look at the dinosaurs.
3, 2.
To truly understand these creatures, we need to go to the source. According to the strategy guide for Trespasser, these dinosaurs can feel a full range of emotions. They can feel fear, love, hunger, curiosity, pain,
7.
anger, thirst, fatigue, and solidarity. These dinosaurs were controlled by one of the most ambitious AIs of its time. Except that the system was not fully working on release. The AI was plagued with bugs. According to interviews, the dinosaurs would go through emotional meltdowns and freeze up, so the developers had to lock them all on Angry in order to get the game shipped out on time. What we are left with is a small look at the complex system the developers were trying to create. The world of Trespasser is impressively large. Maps are quite big for the time, and it's obvious the developers had big ideas of what to fill them with. If you venture off the beaten path, you can sometimes find random music clips where nothing is. You can find whole buildings with no purpose. You can even find part of the movie if you look hard enough.
Take a bite. Come on, I won't hurt you.
As the game goes on, though, you find these large levels less and less, most likely due to the rapidly shrinking timetable. Let's take a moment to talk about bugs.
Wow. Nice one.
If I started listing all of them off, we'd be here forever. But let's look at some of the highlights. Anna dropping her gun for no reason. Collision issues. Box stacking issues. Collision issues.
Nearly empty. That's it.
This game is full of bugs and annoyances. The physics system sometimes just refuses to work. Boxes will slide around randomly. You are often left trying to glitch your way through puzzles in the game.
Hasn't been used. It's half gone. Almost out.
Sometimes Anna decides to just not jump, making platforming all kinds of fun. Trespasser is the game that gave me the idea to dig through the depths of Steam in search of hidden gems. Now, don't misunderstand, Trespasser was a failure, selling only 50,000 copies in its time, and it's super frustrating to play to this day. But it was a game that tried so much. They took what should have been a simple by-the-book movie tie-in and tried things that no other game had ever done. They took their passion for this project and tried to make something unique, and they succeeded, just not in the way they had hoped. Honestly, many game developers today could learn much from Trespasser. Too often developers stick with what is safe instead of trying to push the limits, even if it blows up in their face. There is still lots left to talk about in Trespasser, but only so much can fit in one video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, and hit subscribe if you want to stay informed on my quest to find the interesting hidden gems of gaming.
That's it.